Jamie had never thought living with an alien would be so strange. In fact, Jamie had never thought they would ever share an apartment with someone or something that could turn their simple life into a constant whirlwind of confusion, laughter, and occasionally panic. But there it was, Xylo, their alien roommate, sitting on the couch, legs folded in an almost meditative pose, staring intently at a bowl of mashed potatoes. "What are you doing?" Jamie asked, stepping carefully over a pile of socks. The pile had grown mysteriously overnight, and somehow it included a bright pink sock with googly eyes stuck to it. Jamie had stopped asking questions about the socks weeks ago. Alien logic, apparently, had a different sense of fashion. "I am experimenting," Xylo said, voice smooth like melted glass but with a strange musical undertone. "I am learning about human reproduction." Jamie stopped mid-step. They had expected some odd behaviors. Xylo's fascination with Earth culture was well documented, but this was new. "Wait, what?" "I wish to understand how humans breed," Xylo continued, nodding slowly as if this statement explained everything. "It is essential for your species' survival. I am preparing for full comprehension." Jamie blinked. They had expected some alien curiosity about television, music, or maybe pizza. This, however, was something entirely different. "Comprehension? You mean the baby thing?" "Yes," Xylo said, picking up a mashed potato and rolling it between his green four-fingered hands. "I am practicing replication methods." Jamie stared. The mashed potato was now slowly forming into a lumpy cylinder. Xylo's eyes, large, reflective, and unblinking, seemed completely serious. "Replication methods?" "Yes," Xylo repeated, as if saying it twice would make it simpler. "I observed humans in visual media. I collected data. Now I will attempt simulation." He placed the cylinder on the floor and began tapping it with a wooden spoon. "Observe carefully." Jamie wanted to run, scream, or at least hide under the nearest blanket. Instead, they crouched and muttered, "That's not how it works." Xylo tilted his head. "It is a start. Your media shows strange containers, glowing lights, and pods. This potato is similar." Jamie's brain tried to reconcile the scene in front of them with reality. Their alien roommate, who could effortlessly manipulate energy fields, craft holographic objects, and translate hundreds of languages in seconds, was now treating mashed potatoes as the first step in understanding human reproduction. "Xylo," Jamie said cautiously, "humans, we don't breed like that. You can't just mash potatoes and expect it to happen." Xylo considered this. Then he leaned closer to the potato cylinder and tapped it lightly. "Perhaps my data was incomplete. I must gather more information." Jamie pinched the bridge of their nose. "You can't gather more information like this. You have to, observe humans interact naturally. You know, as humans do." "Ah," Xylo said, eyes lighting up. "Interaction. I will attempt interaction." He stood, towering over the small apartment, and clapped his hands once. A soft blue glow shimmered across his skin. "I will recruit assistants. I require human participants." Jamie's stomach sank. "Wait, no, I am the assistant." "You are not recruiting anyone else. This is my apartment." Xylo gave a small, polite nod. "Very well, you shall be my consultant. Your guidance is essential." The next few hours were a blur of bizarre attempts and escalating absurdity. Xylo tried everything Jamie could imagine, each attempt more ridiculous than the last. First came the sock puppet simulation. Two socks were tied together, googly eyes attached, and Xylo began narrating a human mating ritual, moving the socks around on the kitchen counter as if they were living beings. Jamie watched, part horrified, part fascinated. "Xylo, humans don't do that." "They attempt to attract," Xylo said, pointing at the socks. "These are representations of your species," Jamie groaned. "Sock puppets are not humans, they're socks." Xylo paused as if considering the point carefully. "You underestimate the educational value of representation." He then set the socks aside and picked up a measuring cup. Next attempt, liquid transfer experiment. Jamie's eyes widened. Xylo, no, not that either. But Xylo had already begun. He poured water into one cup, then carefully transferred it into another, narrating, "In humans, transfer occurs via bodily fluid, simplified demonstration only. Observation required." Jamie exhaled sharply. "That is not how humans, oh, never mind." By the end of the night, the apartment looked like a tiny laboratory gone haywire. Mashed potatoes were stacked in small pyramids on the counter. Sock puppets were lined up along the windowsill like a bizarre army. And Xylo, now sitting cross-legged on the floor, was sketching diagrams in the air with glowing lines of light, muttering about chromosomes, energy patterns, and reproduction efficiency. Jamie sank into the couch, exhausted. "Xylo, I don't even know how to explain this to you." Xylo tilted his head, one long antenna quivering slightly. "Perhaps analogies are required. Humans are complex. My simulations fail. I require clarity." Jamie rubbed their temples. "Okay, think of it like this. It's not about physics. It's not about experiments. Humans, it's about chemistry, emotions, teamwork, timing, humor, respect. You can't just create it in a lab." Xylo's eyes blinked slowly. Then he tapped the glowing diagrams floating in the air. "Ah, emotional variables. I may require recalibration." Jamie laughed despite themselves. "Recalibration? You mean you're saying you need to understand feelings?" Xylo nodded solemnly. "Precisely. I must comprehend the full human model, not merely biological replication but interactive efficiency." Jamie shook their head. "Good luck with that." And then came the most bizarre part of the night. Xylo decided the problem was environmental. He began rearranging the apartment, moving furniture into strange positions, placing scented candles in odd clusters, and playing classical music at an impossible volume. "Ambience," he explained, "critical for successful simulation. Humans respond to environment." Jamie watched as Xylo stacked chairs to create a romantic zone near the window and hung fairy lights like some kind of alien festival. This is my living room, Xylo, not a mating lab." Xylo's antenna twitched. "Human environments are adaptive. Your species requires contextual enhancement." Jamie groaned. "I give up, seriously." Then, just when Jamie thought the night couldn't get any stranger, Xylo turned to them with those wide, reflective eyes and asked the question Jamie knew would come eventually. "Jamie, can you assist me in practical interaction? The final stage of replication understanding." Jamie stared. "Practical interaction?" "Yes," Xylo said, sitting up straighter. "Observation of human engagement, participation required." Jamie had a sinking feeling in their stomach, but it wasn't fear. It was a weird mix of amusement, disbelief, and the faintest hint of excitement. Somehow, despite the mashed potatoes, socks, and rearranged furniture, they realized something important. Humans, with all their flaws, humor, and ingenuity, could teach even a superior alien something truly unique: how to be human. "Fine," Jamie said finally, slumping back on the couch. "I'll help you, but we do it the human way, got it?" Xylo's eyes glowed softly in approval. "Agreed, I will follow your guidance." Human consultant mode activated. Jamie could only shake their head. They had no idea what this practical interaction would involve, but one thing was certain. Life with Xylo was going to be absolutely, spectacularly, and hilariously unpredictable. And if nothing else, at least they would never be bored again. As the night settled into quiet chaos, with mashed potatoes on the counter and socks staring from the windowsill, Jamie couldn't help but smile. They had survived the first stage of Xylo's human replication project. Somehow they had a feeling that the real adventure was only just beginning. And somewhere deep in the glow of his skin, Xylo was already imagining the next experiment, the next attempt, the next hilarious failure. Humanity, he realized, was far more unpredictable than any simulation, And that Xylo thought was precisely why it was so fascinating. Jamie yawned and rubbed their eyes. "Okay," they muttered. "Tomorrow we explain dating apps. Good luck, buddy." Xylo's antenna twitched in delight. "Excellent. This will enhance comprehension of human courtship behaviors. Efficiency improvement projected." Jamie could only groan, rolling over on the couch. Somehow they had a feeling their apartment and their life would never be normal again. And somehow that thought was kind of exciting. The next morning, Jamie woke to a strange, faint humming that filled the apartment. At first, they thought it might be some leftover effect of Xylo's mashed potato experiments. But when they opened their eyes, they saw their alien roommate perched on the kitchen counter, glowing faintly and waving a small remote in the air like a conductor leading an invisible orchestra. "Good morning, Jamie," Xylo said cheerfully. "Today we commence stage 2, practical interaction training." Jamie groaned and sat up, rubbing their eyes. "Practical interaction? What does that even mean?" Xylo's eyes glimmered with curiosity. "Observation of human engagement. It is time for me to learn how humans interact with each other, socially, emotionally, and romantically. Your guidance is required for optimal efficiency." Jamie slowly sat on the couch, trying to process what romantically meant in the context of their alien roommate. "Xylo, humans don't just simulate romance with mashed potatoes, and we don't need a remote or a glowing aura to interact." "Ah," Xylo said, tilting his head. "You underestimate the importance of environmental simulation." He pointed at the living room, which now looked like some kind of futuristic playground. The fairy lights were blinking in rainbow patterns, a small fan blew scented mist across the floor, and the chairs were still stacked in strange formations. Jamie stared. "Xylo, the apartment is a mess. This is not normal." Xylo's antenna twitched. "Normality is irrelevant. Efficiency of learning is critical. Now let us begin," Jamie sighed. "Fine, but we do it the human way, remember?" Xylo nodded solemnly. "Confirmed. Human consultant mode active." The first experiment started with Jamie trying to explain something as basic as a handshake. Xylo's long, green fingers were awkwardly stiff as he attempted to mimic Jamie. He extended one arm, then two, then attempted some kind of combination, ending with both hands and his antenna entangled. Jamie laughed despite themselves. "Xylo, humans only use one hand." "One hand, not whatever that was." Xylo adjusted, his eyes narrowing in concentration. "Single-hand protocol, understood. Observation of micro-expressions also required." Jamie raised an eyebrow. "Micro-expressions? Xylo, this is a handshake. You just shake hands." "Ah," Xylo said, leaning closer to Jamie. "But humans convey multiple layers of meaning in handshakes. Trust, respect, submission, dominance. I must master all simultaneously." Jamie pinched their nose. "Fine, just try not to break anything." Next, they moved on to conversation. Xylo was fascinated by the idea that humans could communicate without lights, chemicals, or complex energy fields. "So you use words?" Xylo asked. "Yes," Jamie said. "Words, sentences, tone of voice, gestures, it's complicated." Xylo's eyes lit up. "Excellent. We shall run verbal interaction simulations. Please instruct me." Jamie had to explain the idea of small talk. Xylo tilted his head, processing every word. "Small talk, insignificant content, yet social significance. Initiation of trust bonds. Understood." Jamie blinked. "Yeah, that's one way to put it." They practiced for an hour. Jamie asked about the weather. Xylo replied with overly technical observations. Humidity levels, solar angles, wind resistance, and the exact color spectrum of the morning sky. Jamie had to remind him repeatedly that humans didn't care about precise measurements. They wanted connection, not scientific reports. Xylo's antenna drooped slightly. "Connection, emotional resonance, I will attempt humor." Jamie held their stomach. "Okay, start simple. Jokes are okay, but don't overthink it." Xylo paused, then said in a deadpan voice, Why did the human cross the road? To optimize pathfinding efficiency and avoid gravitational obstacles. Jamie groaned and laughed at the same time. Close enough, maybe. After breakfast, Xylo decided that observation of real humans was necessary. Jamie tried to warn him. Xylo, you can't just approach random humans, that's weird. Xylo ignored the warning. No worry, I will observe discreetly. Jamie had no choice but to follow. They took Xylo to the nearby park. Xylo hovered slightly above the ground, arms crossed, eyes scanning. Every human that walked by was catalogued. Their stride, expressions, gestures, clothing color combinations, and frequency of laughter. Xylo even noted the times people looked at their phones, as if those interactions were critical data points. Jamie couldn't help but feel a little proud. Xylo was learning, but the way he learned was unique. A little girl ran past, laughing and holding a balloon. Xylo's antenna twitched. High emotional response detected. Child-object interaction critical for bonding comprehension. Jamie laughed. Xylo, you don't need to analyze kids to understand humans. Xylo ignored them and tried to mimic the girl's skipping motion, spinning in awkward circles until he almost toppled over. Jamie caught him just in time. You're going to break something, Jamie said. Correction, Xylo said, straightening. I am learning human joy dynamics. Preservation of balance secondary. Later, Jamie attempted to teach Xylo about human conversation more practically. They approached a group of friends sitting on a park bench. Xylo hovered slightly behind Jamie, observing. Jamie nudged him. Okay, now try to talk, be natural. Xylo nodded, walked up, and said in a perfectly formal tone, Greetings, fellow humans. I wish to acquire knowledge regarding your interpersonal dynamics. Please provide verbal input. The group stared. One of them laughed nervously. Hi, sure. Jamie buried their face in their hands. Xylo tone, casual, relaxed. Xylo's voice softened slightly. Relaxed, very well. They tried again. Xylo said, Greetings, fellow humans. Your laughter patterns are intriguing. May we converse? Jamie groaned audibly. Close enough, I guess. Despite the awkwardness, Xylo was learning. He noticed when people smiled, how they gestured with their hands, and even how their eyes twinkled when they laughed genuinely. Each observation was catalogued, analyzed, and stored in his internal memory. By the afternoon, Xylo had become obsessed with the idea of pair bonding. Jamie tried to explain. Humans often form connections based on shared interests, humor, kindness, and trust. It's not just science. Xylo's eyes glowed softly. Understood. Emotional resonance is critical. I will attempt demonstration. Jamie's stomach sank slightly. Demonstration. Xylo floated above a bench, picked up a discarded magazine and began flirting with it. He rotated the magazine toward himself, waved his antenna gently, and made soft humming sounds. Jamie facepalmed. Xylo, that's a magazine. Correction, Xylo said, tilting his head. It is a human representation, emotional demonstration in progress. Jamie sighed. Fine. But we'll need better practice targets, humans, not objects. Back in the apartment, Xylo attempted to simulate various pair bonding rituals using household items. Jamie watched as he tied two spoons together, danced in a circle around them, and hummed at an almost operatic pitch. Xylo, stop. Spoons don't feel anything. Jamie laughed, though they had to admit Xylo's dedication was impressive. Xylo's antenna twitched. It is the principle, not the object. Observation and replication of human behavior is paramount. Jamie shook their head, smiling. You really are trying, I'll give you that. Hours passed. Xylo tried more complex demonstrations, including attempting to imitate a dinner date scenario using two juice boxes. Jamie pretended to be impressed, offering guidance. Xylo, humans eat food, not drink from boxes while making gestures like that. Try sitting next to someone and talking casually. Xylo adjusted. Casual interaction, understood. Emotional synchronization required. Jamie taught him about small gestures, smiling, eye contact, polite laughter. Xylo's attempts were mechanical but oddly endearing. He would tilt his head just right, nod at the appropriate moment, and even try a soft, nervous laugh. Jamie had to admit, it was better than the sock puppets and mashed potatoes. By evening, both were exhausted. The apartment was still in chaos, fairy lights blinking, chairs stacked in odd angles, but Xylo had progressed. He had learned that human interaction was not about physics, energy, or experiments. It was about connection, humor, patience, and empathy. Jamie flopped onto the couch. All right, Xylo, maybe you're getting it, just don't take it too far tomorrow. Humans are complicated, sure, but this is getting intense. Xylo floated above the couch, antenna twitching in satisfaction. Intensity is required for full comprehension. However, I acknowledge your guidance is essential. Human consultant, you are invaluable. Jamie laughed, shaking their head. I have a feeling tomorrow will be even stranger. Xylo hummed softly, already processing the day's data, cataloging smiles, gestures, laughter, and even the subtle eye movements of humans in the park. Jamie realized that even though Xylo could do incredible things with technology, he still had much to learn about humanity, and humans, as usual, had the advantage: intuition, empathy, and a sense of humor that no simulation could ever replicate fully. As the apartment lights dimmed, Jamie watched Xylo study a spinning spoon on the table, glowing softly in the dark. You know, Jamie said quietly, you may never fully understand humans, but you're trying, and that's impressive. Xylo's antenna twitched. Acknowledged. Effort is a critical variable. Observation and participation combined ensure maximum comprehension. I am grateful for your mentorship, Jamie. Jamie smiled, tired but amused. You're welcome, I guess. Now try not to break anything tonight, okay? Xylo hummed in agreement, already dreaming of the next day's experiments, simulations, and learning opportunities. Jamie lay back, knowing one thing for certain. Life with Xylo was far from ordinary, and they wouldn't have it any other way. And deep down, Jamie felt a small spark of pride. Humans had survived, thrived, and outsmarted countless challenges before, and now even an advanced alien needed them to understand the very essence of what made humans human. Tomorrow promised more chaos, laughter, and lessons, but Jamie was ready. Somehow, with Xylo as a roommate, every day was an adventure. The morning sunlight streamed through the apartment windows, cutting through the rainbow glow of fairy lights Xylo had left on overnight. Jamie yawned, stretching on the couch, only half awake, and immediately noticed that the apartment had already changed. Xylo was no longer on the couch or kitchen counter. He was hovering near the door, glowing faintly, and scanning a notebook filled with symbols, sketches, and tiny glowing holograms of humans. Good morning, Jamie, Xylo chirped cheerfully, antenna twitching with energy. Today we advance to stage 3, real human social interaction. Observation has limits. Participation is required, Jamie groaned. Participation? You mean involving actual humans? Affirmative. Humans are the most informative when interacting naturally with other humans. We must proceed, Jamie rubbed their face. Xylo, last time we went to the park, you almost spun off a little girl's balloon into orbit. Are you sure this is a good idea? Xylo tilted his head. Your caution is noted. However, controlled social environment is optional. Uncontrolled variables are educational. Jamie sighed, realizing they were arguing with a glowing alien who genuinely believed misbehaving humans could somehow be controlled with logic and diagrams. Fine, but we do this my way. Small group, friends, casual, no chaos. Xylo's eyes lit up. Confirmed. Casual social environment, optimal for data collection. Human consultant, prepare participants. By mid-morning, Jamie had gathered a few friends for a small game night at the apartment, hoping that Xylo would at least behave with people he already knew. The friends, still a bit wary from previous alien encounters, entered cautiously, peering around at the stacked chairs, rainbow lights, and floating holograms. Xylo greeted each one formally, bowing slightly and humming a greeting tone that vibrated softly in the air. Jamie winced. Okay, Xylo, remember, casual, friendly, not formal alien ambassador. Xylo nodded. Understood, casual human approach, observation and participation active. The friends hesitated, then slowly settled on the couch and chairs, looking around curiously. Xylo floated slightly above the floor, his eyes darting between them, cataloging gestures, expressions, and posture. Jamie explained that the night would be simple: board games, snacks, and casual conversation. Xylo seemed intrigued. The first challenge came with the board game. Xylo had never played human games before, and he treated the rules like a physics experiment. Every move was analyzed, documented, and occasionally simulated in midair with holographic copies of the game pieces. Jamie groaned. Xylo, it's just a game. No need to simulate 3 moves ahead using energy fields. Simulation ensures optimal performance and observation of human decision-making, Xylo replied calmly. By the second round, Xylo had already memorized everyone's strategies, predicting moves before anyone even rolled the dice. Jamie's friends were both impressed and slightly unnerved. Wow, that's actually kind of scary, one friend whispered. Jamie laughed. Relax. He's just trying to understand humans. Xylo tilted his head. Understanding humans is critical. Efficiency in social interaction is paramount. Observation of micro-expressions during gameplay is also enlightening. After the board game, Jamie tried to explain small talk in a more interactive way. They encouraged Xylo to ask simple questions like, "How was your day?" or "Did you see that movie last week?" Xylo's attempts were awkward. He would ask someone about their circadian energy distribution or the efficiency of their morning nutrient intake. Jamie winced. Xylo, no, just ask normal questions. Humans don't talk like that. Xylo paused. Ah, casual questioning, emotional resonance required. Understood, he tried again. Greetings, did you enjoy your day? One of Jamie's friends blinked, surprised. Yeah, that's normal. Good job, Xylo. Xylo's antenna twitched in satisfaction. Acknowledged, emotional resonance measured. Social engagement increased by 17%. Jamie groaned. Xylo, you can't measure social engagement like a spreadsheet. Xylo's eyes flickered. Correction, human engagement data is beneficial for learning. Metrics simplified for comprehension. Next came laughter, and Xylo's biggest challenge yet. Humans laughed in strange, unpredictable ways, sometimes at jokes, sometimes at gestures, sometimes for no reason at all. Xylo wanted to replicate it, but his version was a soft, melodic hum that sounded more like a musical instrument than laughter. Jamie tried to explain, humans laugh naturally. You don't have to sound like an alien harp, just let it happen. Xylo tilted his head. Natural, organic laughter, understood, attempting replication. He paused, watching Jamie's friend chuckle at a joke. Then he let out a short, awkward hum, followed by a series of squeaky chirps. Jamie's friend laughed harder, mostly out of confusion, and Xylo cataloged it carefully in his notebook. See, Jamie said, humans are weird, but it works. Xylo's antenna twitched. Confirmed. Human unpredictability enhances comprehension. Emotional response, cataloged. After snacks, Jamie tried to explain more about human communication beyond words. You see, Xylo, humans use gestures, tone, and even facial expressions to communicate emotions. Not everything is said out loud. Xylo's eyes widened. Nonverbal data, critical for full understanding. Observation mode, maximum. He began to mimic gestures, nodding, shrugging, tilting his head while humming softly. Jamie's friends were amused, watching the alien attempt tiny human nuances. One friend waved, and Xylo immediately waved back, though his movements were slightly too fast and precise, like a machine learning a task. Jamie laughed. Good, but not so perfect. Humans aren't robots. Xylo tilted his head. Imperfect replication understood, adjusting motor control for natural variability. By late afternoon, Xylo had attempted to simulate pair bonding in a completely new way. Jamie's friends watched in amused disbelief as Xylo picked two juice boxes, placed them side by side on a small table, and started humming soft melodies while spinning around them. The glowing holograms above his head shifted colors to match emotional tones of a romantic encounter. Jamie facepalmed. Xylo, we said humans, not juice boxes. Xylo paused, antenna twitching. Correction, symbolic demonstration of emotional interaction. Object chosen for safe practice. No risk to humans. Jamie groaned but couldn't help laughing. Xylo's dedication was remarkable. No other creature, alien or human, would go to such lengths to understand humans so thoroughly. As the evening drew near, Xylo decided it was time for another demonstration. He asked Jamie to guide him through a mock date scenario, using holograms and snacks. Jamie reluctantly agreed. They sat across from Xylo at the small dining table, using candy and juice boxes as stand-ins for participants. Xylo followed every instruction meticulously, making eye contact, nodding at the right moments, reacting to the hologram's expressions, and even attempting a soft, nervous laugh. Jamie marveled at the alien's focus. Despite the awkwardness, Xylo was learning quickly. In some strange, unexplainable way, it almost looked human. You know, Jamie said quietly, you might actually get this. Humans aren't just biology or physics, they're clever, unpredictable, and funny. And you're starting to understand that. Xylo's eyes glowed softly. Acknowledged. Human cleverness, emotional unpredictability integrated into comprehension model. Jamie smiled, feeling a strange sense of pride. It was true. Humans had survived countless challenges because of creativity, humor, and empathy. Even Xylo, with all his advanced abilities, could only approach understanding humans by observing, learning, and trying, just as any human would. By the end of the night, Jamie's friends had left, laughing and sharing stories about the alien's unusual but amusing behavior. Xylo floated quietly, cataloging every moment, every smile, every gesture, and every laugh. Jamie collapsed onto the couch, exhausted but happy. You did okay today, Jamie said softly. Not perfect, but impressive. Xylo's antenna twitched in what Jamie assumed was a pleased gesture. Acknowledged. Human interaction comprehension has increased by significant percentage. Emotional resonance detected. Mentor, your guidance is invaluable. Jamie laughed. You know, Xylo, no matter how advanced aliens get, humans will always have something special. Creativity, humor, and just figuring things out. That's what makes us us. Xylo paused, glowing faintly in thought. Observation confirmed. Humanity's ingenuity remarkable. Your species is superior in subtle ways. Jamie grinned. Yeah, and that's why you're learning from me, buddy. As the night settled, the apartment quiet except for the soft humming of Xylo's data processing, Jamie realized something important. Life with an alien roommate might be chaotic, confusing, and sometimes exhausting, but it was never boring. And the more Xylo learned, the more Jamie realized that even an advanced alien could appreciate what humans did best: creativity, empathy, and humor. Somewhere in the glow of his skin, Xylo was already imagining tomorrow's experiments, simulations, and interactions. Jamie smiled, thinking that no matter what happened next, humans had an advantage that no alien could fully replicate. And sometimes, just sometimes, the best way to teach an alien about humans was to simply be human. And with that thought, Jamie drifted off to sleep, wondering what ridiculous, hilarious, and entirely unpredictable adventure awaited them the next day. The next morning, Jamie woke to a low, persistent humming coming from the living room. At first, they thought it was Xylo testing some new energy field or another bizarre experiment. When Jamie opened their eyes, they saw their alien roommate hovering in the center of the apartment, glowing brightly, with tiny holographic projections of humans spinning around him like planets orbiting a star. "Good morning, Jamie," Xylo said cheerfully. "Today, Stage 4 begins. Advanced social simulation outside controlled environments. Observation of multiple human groups is now required," Jamie groaned, rolling over on the couch. "Outside, Xylo, last time you nearly created a traffic disaster at the park. Are you sure this is a good idea?" Xylo's antenna twitched in what Jamie guessed was excitement. Controlled chaos is educational. Efficiency of real human social engagement cannot be fully understood in isolated environments. Your guidance is required for fieldwork. Jamie sat up, sighing. "Fine, but this is my plan and we're keeping it small and safe." "Got it." Xylo blinked, the glow of his skin adjusting with intensity. "Confirmed. Fieldwork mode activated. Human consultant supervision essential." By mid-morning, Jamie had rounded up a few close friends for a casual outdoor picnic at a quiet park near the city. They brought blankets, snacks, and board games, hoping that Xylo could observe without causing chaos. Xylo, however, had his own interpretation of controlled observation. He floated above the group, notebook holograms spinning around him, antennas twitching with excitement as he cataloged every movement, expression, and gesture. Jamie tried to explain the rules of social space. "Xylo, humans don't hover over others while they talk. You need to be subtle." Xylo adjusted slightly, hovering just a foot above the ground. Subtle observation initiated, social distance calibrated, emotional resonance monitored. Jamie groaned, realizing that Xylo's version of subtle was still far from human subtle. Xylo's glowing eyes scanned each friend, analyzing laughter, gestures, and even how people reached for snacks. Every detail was logged, and holographic simulations recreated the interactions above his head. To start, Jamie introduced a simple game, charades. Xylo's understanding of human gestures was developing. When Jamie's friend acted out washing a car, Xylo interpreted it literally, floating into the middle of the grass, picking up a water bottle, and spraying it on a nearby park bench while humming a melodic tone. "Xylo!" Jamie yelled, running over. "No. That's not part of the game." "Correction," Xylo said, pausing. "Literal simulation enhances understanding of gesture interpretation. Observation continues." Jamie facepalmed but couldn't help laughing. Xylo was trying, and that was part of the charm. After a few rounds, Xylo attempted his first verbal interaction experiment. Jamie guided him on casual conversation topics, hobbies, food, movies, and small jokes. Xylo's first attempt sounded robotic but enthusiastic. "Greetings, human entities. What is your preferred source of nutrition?" Jamie winced. Xylo, just ask what they like to eat, not a full-on research survey. Xylo paused, analyzing facial expressions. Then he tried again. "Oh, do you enjoy sandwiches?" Jamie groaned but nodded. "Better, way better." One of Jamie's friends chuckled. "Well, that's oddly polite and cute. I kind of like it." Xylo's antenna twitched and he recorded every reaction meticulously. Polite response detected, humor integration noted, emotional engagement moderate. After a while, Xylo noticed how humans often shared jokes, laughed, and sometimes embarrassed themselves in small, endearing ways. He attempted to replicate it by humming short melodies at appropriate times, attempting soft gestures like nodding, and even mimicking laughter in his own alien style. Jamie's friends laughed, partly because of Xylo's awkwardness, partly because of his dedication, and partly because it was impossible not to. Next, Jamie introduced a subtle challenge: social dynamics between friends. Humans often joked, teased lightly, and reacted unpredictably. Xylo watched carefully. When Jamie's friend pretended to steal a snack, Xylo paused, antenna twitching. Then, in a perfectly dramatic tone, he floated over, gently nudged the friend with a glowing hand and said, "Attention. Snack redistribution protocol must be enforced for fairness," Jamie groaned. "Xylo, humans don't enforce fairness with glowing hands. We joke about it." Xylo tilted his head. "Ah, humor integration required. Noted. Recalibrating interaction model." By lunchtime, Xylo had cataloged dozens of interactions. Laughter, teasing, hand gestures, shared snacks, and even the subtle eye contact humans exchanged. Jamie realized something important. Xylo was learning more about humans in one day than some humans learned in a lifetime. But Xylo still didn't fully understand the unpredictable, emotional depth that made human socialization unique. Jamie decided it was time for another lesson: empathy. They staged a small scenario where one friend pretended to feel sad after losing a game. Xylo watched carefully, antenna quivering. Emotional distress detected. Human response required. Jamie whispered instructions. "Xylo, comfort them. Smile, nod, say something kind. Don't overdo it. Humans like sincerity." Xylo floated over, glowing softly. "Statement of empathy initiated," he said in his melodic tone. "Do not worry, fellow human. Loss is temporary. Your emotional state will improve with time and social support." Jamie stifled a laugh. "Close enough, maybe too formal." The friend smiled anyway. "Thanks, Xylo." "That's sweet, actually." Xylo noted the positive reaction. "Acknowledged. Emotional support protocol effective. Data logged." After lunch, Xylo grew curious about humor again. Jamie suggested a simple joke. "Why did the chicken cross the road?" Xylo listened carefully, and after the punchline he hummed in a strange pattern, attempting to mimic laughter. Jamie's friends burst into laughter, not at the joke, but at Xylo's awkward mimicry. Xylo cataloged the response. Laughter detected. Humor successfully replicated partially. Jamie realized that Xylo's learning method was perfectly human in its own way: trial, error, observation, and adaptation. Xylo might be an alien, but he was approaching human behavior with patience and determination that any human could admire. The afternoon passed with small games, snacks, laughter, and gentle teaching. Xylo attempted handshakes, gestures, verbal cues, and small jokes. Jamie guided him, sometimes cringing, sometimes laughing, but always amazed at the alien's commitment. By late afternoon, Jamie suggested a small challenge: a group photo. Humans often laughed, posed, and made small gestures during photos. Xylo observed silently as Jamie organized the group. When it was his turn, Xylo attempted to pose, mimicking what he had seen in previous human observations: a slight tilt of the head, a gentle smile, and subtle gestures with his antennae. Jamie's friends were delighted. "Wow, Xylo, that actually looks humanish." Xylo cataloged it meticulously. "Observation successful. Human mimicry within acceptable parameters. Emotional response positive." As the sun began to set, the small group packed up their blankets and snacks. Xylo followed, floating quietly, antenna twitching with delight. Jamie walked alongside him, reflecting on the day. "You know, Xylo, humans are weird, unpredictable, and sometimes messy. But that's what makes us great," Jamie said softly. "You can learn all the simulations you want, but you won't fully get it until you just experience it." Xylo's glow softened. "Acknowledged. Direct human experience is invaluable. Observational learning alone is insufficient. Emotional and social immersion required." Jamie smiled. "Exactly. And that's why, no matter how advanced aliens get, humans always have an edge in creativity, empathy, and humor. You're learning, but humans, we improvise, we adapt, and we laugh through it all." Xylo's antenna twitched thoughtfully. "Improvisation and adaptability, key variables in human success. Observation confirms. Humor and empathy are as vital as biological survival." Jamie laughed. "See, you're finally getting it. Maybe someday you'll understand humans completely, but for now, just keep trying." The two of them walked back to the apartment, Xylo glowing softly in the evening light. Jamie couldn't help but feel proud. Even an advanced alien could see what made humans truly remarkable: creativity, emotional intelligence, humor, and the ability to adapt in ways no simulation could predict. As they entered the apartment, Jamie noticed that Xylo had already begun cataloging the day's observations in holographic displays above the couch. Laughter, gestures, conversations, and even minor mistakes were analyzed, simulated, and stored. Jamie shook their head in amusement. "You're obsessive, you know that," Jamie said. Xylo's eyes glowed faintly. "Dedication is required for comprehension. Your species is extraordinary. I am honored to learn from you." Jamie smiled, feeling a small spark of pride. "And that, Xylo, is why humans are the best at what we do. We make the impossible look ordinary, and sometimes we even teach aliens how to be human." Xylo twitched his antenna in agreement, already imagining tomorrow's new lessons, simulations, and experiments. Jamie could only laugh. Life with an alien roommate was unpredictable, exhausting, hilarious, and oddly inspiring. As the night settled, Jamie realized one thing: Xylo might learn all the data points, simulations, and holographic models in the galaxy, but humans had something no simulation could ever capture: heart, humor, and the endless ability to surprise, adapt, and connect. And Jamie knew, deep down, that whatever bizarre experiment Xylo tried next, humanity's cleverness and humor would always shine through. The morning sun filtered gently through the apartment windows, casting long beams of light across the cluttered living room. Xylo was already awake, hovering above the floor, eyes glowing softly, and hands clasped together in quiet anticipation. Today was different. Jamie could feel it. "Good morning, Jamie," Xylo said, his voice smoother than usual with a hint of excitement that made the room almost vibrate. "Today we complete Stage 5, full human interaction comprehension. Observation alone is insufficient. Integration is required." Jamie blinked. "Integration? Xylo, what exactly do you mean by that?" "I will participate fully in human social dynamics. I will combine humor, empathy, improvisation, and emotional awareness into a single operational model," Xylo explained, floating closer to the couch. "Human consultant guidance remains essential," Jamie groaned, half amused and half exhausted. "Okay, fine, but we keep it simple and safe. No flying through the city or using mashed potatoes for you know." Xylo nodded seriously. "Confirmed. Controlled environment as much as possible." By late morning, Jamie had gathered a few friends again, this time at their apartment for a small human day experiment. The plan was simple: games, conversations, snacks, and nothing too complicated. Xylo floated above the couch, hovering calmly, as holographic displays of his past observations rotated silently around him. He was already processing everything he had learned: the gestures, laughter, teasing, empathy, and social improvisations from previous days. Jamie took a deep breath. "Okay, Xylo, today you try it all at once. You talk, you joke, you empathize, and you respond like a human would in real situations. No overdoing it, no robot stuff, just human. Got it?" Xylo's eyes glowed brighter. "Acknowledged." Full integration mode activated. Emotional, social, and humorous variables will be simultaneously applied. Jamie raised an eyebrow. Good luck." The first challenge was simple: conversation. Jamie encouraged Xylo to ask the group about their week. Xylo's approach was cautious at first. "Greetings, humans, how was your week? Emotional states and physical conditions may vary," Jamie groaned. "No, just ask casually, no science talk." Xylo paused, scanning the group for cues, then tried again. "Hi. How's everyone doing this week?" Jamie's friends laughed and nodded. "Much better, that's perfect." Xylo's antenna twitched with satisfaction. He cataloged the positive response and adjusted his next move: humor. One friend mentioned how tired they were from work. Xylo tilted his head and hummed softly, attempting a light-hearted comment. Perhaps overexertion can be alleviated by humorous activity. Jamie groaned and face-palmed, but the friend laughed anyway. I'll take it, Xylo. Encouraged, Xylo continued. He observed micro-expressions and gestures, trying to match his own movements to the group's mood. He tilted his head, made subtle nods, and even attempted a soft, nervous laugh, which sounded odd but somehow endearing. Jamie realized something remarkable. Xylo was beginning to capture the unpredictable human essence that no textbook or simulation could fully explain. Next came improvisation. Jamie handed Xylo a card game and asked him to play with the group. Xylo's first moves were mechanical, analyzing probability and memorizing patterns. But when a friend jokingly accused him of cheating, Xylo paused. He observed their playful tone, the laughter, and even the exaggerated gestures. Then he responded, "Ah, playful accusation detected." Response, humorous deflection. He picked up a card, pretended to hide it behind his back, and said, "I swear on my glowing antennas, these cards were never in my possession." The group burst into laughter, and Jamie couldn't help but laugh too. Xylo's attempt at humor, awkward, over the top, and slightly strange, had worked perfectly. After the game, Jamie decided it was time for another lesson, empathy in real time. One friend pretended to be frustrated over losing repeatedly. Xylo observed closely, antenna twitching. Then he floated over, eyes glowing softly, and said, "Do not worry, every loss is temporary. Your skill will improve with practice, and social support is available." Jamie groaned but smiled. The friend laughed and gave Xylo a playful punch on the shoulder. Xylo cataloged the response, noting the subtle smile, the relaxed posture, and the slight tone of amusement in their voice. By mid-afternoon, Xylo had integrated his learning into a full demonstration. He organized a small conversation circle, joining in discussions with jokes, light teasing, and genuine curiosity about everyone's opinions. His gestures were subtle, his nods timed perfectly, and even his laughter, though melodic, fit surprisingly well into the rhythm of human interaction. Jamie watched in amazement. Xylo, once a purely logical alien with no understanding of the chaotic beauty of humans, was now participating as one of them. He wasn't perfect, but the effort, adaptability, and awareness he displayed were impressive. Jamie felt a spark of pride. Humans, with all their flaws, humor, and unpredictability, had something no alien, no matter how advanced, could replicate perfectly. Xylo's progress was proof that human creativity, empathy, and humor were the ultimate advantage. To celebrate, Jamie suggested a small challenge, a team storytelling exercise. Each person added a line to a story and Xylo had to participate naturally. The group started with, "Once upon a time, a cat decided to explore the city." Xylo paused, antenna twitching as he observed the tone and mood. Then he added, "But discovered that even the smallest creature can affect large-scale urban dynamics in unpredictable ways." Jamie chuckled. "Okay, that's very analytical, but I'll allow it." Another friend added, "And it made friends with a group of pigeons who wanted to start a band." Xylo tilted his head, observing the laughter and reactions. A group collaboration, emotional engagement detected, response, compatible narrative addition, he said. The pigeons learned that cooperation, humor, and creativity can overcome any obstacle, even the tallest building. The group erupted into laughter and applause. Jamie grinned. Xylo was learning not just the mechanics of humans, but the subtle artistry of social and emotional improvisation. He was beginning to understand the heart of humanity. As the sun began to set, the group packed up their things, still laughing and chatting. Xylo followed silently, cataloging each gesture, smile, and subtle joke. Jamie walked alongside him, reflecting on the incredible progress their alien roommate had made. "You know, Xylo, humans are messy, unpredictable, and sometimes frustrating. But that's also what makes us great, Jamie said softly. We improvise, we adapt, and we laugh through it all. You're learning, but humans, we have something special. Heart, humor, creativity. That's why we survive, thrive, and inspire. Xylo's eyes glowed softly. Acknowledged. Emotional unpredictability, humor, improvisation, and empathy are indeed key variables. Observation confirms. Human superiority in subtle traits is remarkable. Jamie laughed. See, you're finally getting it. You can learn all the data in the galaxy, but humans, we're not just numbers or rules. We're clever, funny, and creative. And that's exactly why you're learning from me. Xylo floated silently, glowing warmly as if considering every word. Confirmed. Human consultant guidance has provided maximum comprehension. Your species demonstrates unparalleled adaptability, ingenuity, and emotional complexity. Jamie shook their head, smiling. And that, Xylo, is why humans are the best at what we do. We make life fun, unpredictable, and sometimes ridiculous, but we always figure it out. And now you understand that too. Xylo's antenna twitched in agreement, his glow softening to a calm, contented light. Acknowledged, learning complete. Full human interaction comprehension achieved to the best of current observational and experiential capacity. Jamie laughed. Congratulations, Xylo, you did it. Xylo's eyes twinkled. Acknowledged, mentorship gratitude expressed. Observation, humans are extraordinary. Conclusion, experience, creativity, empathy, and humor cannot be replicated in simulations alone. Jamie smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Exactly, and now you're officially part of our human chaos. Welcome aboard. Xylo floated quietly, glowing softly, as if savoring the moment. Jamie realized something profound. Humans, with all their imperfections, unpredictability, and humor, had something no alien could ever perfectly replicate. Xylo had learned, adapted, and grown, yet the true essence of humanity was something that could only be experienced, shared, and lived. That night, as the apartment lights dimmed and the city outside settled into quiet hums, Jamie reflected on the journey. From mashed potatoes and sock puppets to full social interaction, Xylo had come a long way. And along the way, Jamie had learned something too. Humans were remarkable, not because they were perfect, but because they were clever, adaptable, and endlessly creative. And Xylo, despite all his alien abilities, had learned that lesson in the most human way possible, by living it, experiencing it, and laughing along the way. Jamie yawned and stretched. Tomorrow, we might just teach you about dancing, or cooking, or dating apps. I'm not sure which is crazier. Xylo's antenna twitched with excitement. Excellent. Further human comprehension will be enlightening. Mentorship continues. Jamie laughed, realizing life with Xylo would never be ordinary, but somehow that was exactly what made it perfect. Humans had survived, thrived, and adapted through the ages. And now, even an advanced alien had learned that the real power of humanity lay in creativity, humor, and the ability to connect with others, sometimes in ways that no technology, logic, or simulation could ever truly replicate. As Jamie drifted to sleep that night, they felt a sense of pride and amusement. Xylo had come a long way from mashed potatoes and sock puppets to full social interaction. Humanity, in all its messy, unpredictable, and hilarious glory, had won again, not through strength or intelligence alone, but through heart, humor, and cleverness. And somewhere in the glow of Xylo's skin, hovering above the couch, a tiny spark of admiration and understanding flickered. The alien had learned the most important lesson of all. Humans were extraordinary, and their uniqueness could not be replicated, but it could be admired, studied, and even celebrated. Jamie smiled. Life with an alien roommate had been chaotic, exhausting, and completely unpredictable, but it had also been a reminder of one simple truth. Humanity, in all its weirdness and brilliance, always found a way to shine. And now Xylo would carry that lesson with him, glowing softly, forever changed by the messy, clever, and endlessly fascinating humans he had come to know.